So, your method of interrogation is to take people for a ride, scare them silly, then throw them out over in the skies. Sounds like flying the unfriendly skies here, doesn't it? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. To wrap up our month of Combiner components, we're taking a look at the one that's going to be coming out here for 2026. It has already been determined that we will be getting Bruticus, so we will have Combaticons. And the first one was released back in the second wave of the toys in 2025. This is Vortex. Vortex functions as the interrogator for the team. And he's kind of the best interrogator among the Decepticons, due to the fact that the other two, Laserbeak and Beastbox, were both cassette figures. Vortex is a bit more sadistic, as he would be more, like Larry pointed out, he would take his intended victims on a wild helicopter ride, scaring the information out of them. And then once he got what he wanted from them, he casually discarded them wherever he happened to be flying at the time. So Vortex is a bit of a wild character. Yes, there was a Generation 1 version of him released. Unfortunately, at the time of filming, I've not been able to locate where we've got him stored, so we have to hold off on that. I do apologize to all of you, because I would have loved to have done the comparison. But once we locate him or replace him, we'll get a video out to show it to you. But in the meantime, we're going to take a look at this one. Now, as I stated earlier, for interrogation purposes, he's the better one, due to the fact the other two have major shortcomings. Laserbeak is a known coward, so any Autobots that are taken prisoner, they know all they gotta do is make some sort of convincingly lunging motion towards him, and Laserbeak will be out of there. Beastbox, on the other hand, has no patience for interrogation. He is quick to get violent with prisoners and abuse them. Unfortunately, since he doesn't hold back on his strength, he tends to end up killing prisoners before they reveal anything of any real value to the Decepticons. So out of the three interrogators, Vortex is probably the best. But then again, what all of them are doing is still basically torture. That's a subject for another day. Now, the Combaticons were brought in 1986 originally. And while, like many of the Transformers, there is some discrepancies on their origins, the most well-known origin is their appearance in the cartoon. Excuse me. Terribly sorry about that, folks. We have some issues going on around here, but we won't let that concern be of any bother to all of you, my faithful viewers. That is, until I'm ready to feel the need to reveal it. Anyway, getting back to Vortex. The Combaticons' famous origin is from the cartoon, where Starscream would be, for a time, banished from the Decepticons for his failure. Starscream would find himself on Iwo Jima, and finding the remains of various military vehicles from World War II, he rebuilt them into modern combat vehicles, then traveled via space bridge to Cybertron and stole 5 personalities from a Decepticon prison and implanted their personality matrices into their bodies. Starscream also made sure to give them defective energon processors, so they would be totally dependent on him to give them energon. That would help ensure their loyalty to him. Funny thing about how Starscream worries about loyalty on that. But he already implemented into them the designs to form Bruticus, knowing that once Megatron found out what he was up to, he would likely unleash Devastator against Starscream. So Starscream was ready with Bruticus when Devastator appeared. He would eventually be let back in, but the Combaticons did become a problem for the Decepticons during a mission to Cybertron, where they attempted to go rogue. The Autobots unwillingly ended up assisting the Decepticons, but they would only provide the assistance if they would assure them that Bruticus would be destroyed. Naturally, Megatron deceived the Autobots with a fake Bruticus. They basically faked Bruticus's death, but made sure to salvage his body. Megatron had all the flaws corrected in the Combaticons, but also put in a different program into Bruticus to ensure that the combined unit would be loyal to him. So, rather interesting backstory for them, but again, the different continuities do change things up, because for those of you who played the Cybertron series of video games, Bruticus was a playable character in the second game. And all those games took place on Cybertron during the major wars, before the Generation 1 cartoon would have taken place. So, pretty much take their origins as you may. At any rate, let's take a look at Vortex's accessories, and he has quite a few for a little guy like he is. First off, we have his gun. This is an interesting looking gun. I can tell you it does not resemble the Generation 1 version at all, because that version's gun was intended to slot into the nose of the helicopter. This one does not. So it leads for a better looking gun, especially since this one has a scope on the top of it, so that's a nice little detail. And then, of course, Vortex has a pair of small cannons on his arms. And we do want to show you that they are different, because they both have a post protruding out on the top, and it goes on the opposite side of each gun. So there is a left gun and a right gun. If you happen to be buying Vortex here loose, you will want to pay attention to that. And then lastly, for his accessories, Vortex has his rotor blade. The rotor blade is removable. Something that was not known by many on the Generation 1 toy, mainly because they did not give a reason for it to be removable, but it is removable in this case. It is stored separately in the package on a brand new toy, so make sure you find it. Unlike the other accessories, it's not wrapped in the tissue paper. It is along the side of the package, but it is folded up like this, where it's a dual rotor instead of the quad rotor that it normally is. But this time around, folks, Hasbro took the time to give a use for removing it. As the instructions show, you can bend one of his arms up like so. And then right here at his elbow, you can attach the rotor. Push it in there good. And then there you have it. He's got a arm-mounted weapon of sorts, which we can imagine it being a shield, or I mean, if he spins it fast enough, it could deflect things. Or it could be used as an offensive chopping weapon. Or if you want, he could use it for his interrogations. I kind of like the chopping weapon idea. Especially for those of us who saw Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. It kind of brings to mind the battle with Grievous. And the way he would spin those lightsabers of his. Of course, this could also be a subtle reference to the GoBots cartoon. So the Renegade GoBots did have a prominent character that was a helicopter by the name of Coptour. And he often used his rotor blade as a weapon. But he could hold it in his hand, and it would be used to create wind tunnels. And so while this isn't perfectly like that, it does spring it to mind, especially if you're old enough to remember Challenge of the GoBots. But I think it's just a cute idea. And like I said, it worked, like I was showing you, it worked best here on his left arm. Because as you can see on his right arm, he does have the small tail rotor. And that would kind of get in the way of being able to mount the rotor onto him. So do consider that if that's the route you want to go. At any rate, let's take a look at Vortex's articulation. You can turn his head from side to side, and it is on a ball joint, so it will move up and down a bit. His arms can stretch out to the side about so far. And the arms do rotate at the shoulder all the way around. His arms do bend at the elbow 90 degrees. And when you pop the casing here off, it does allow for the articulation at the biceps, so he has G.I. Joe battle grip. He can twist at his hips, so that means he does have he can do some dance moves. But of course, Vortex has always been used as an arm on Bruticus, so I imagine he will play a similar role. Yep, look here on the instructions, there it is. He will be an arm, just like he always was. You can spread his legs apart into a full splits. He does have a thigh cut going for him. You can raise his legs at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend his legs at the knee 90 degrees. So all in all, he's got the right articulation for a figure of his size. Alright, let's transform Vortex. We've already done the first step, because the first step in the instructions is to remove the rotor blade, so it's good to have that out of the way. Our next step is to turn his head all the way around. Then you'll come back here into this cavity behind his head, and you'll fold up this piece here. If you've got his head lined up properly, it should go over it. Like that. And it pretty much covers his face. And then, of course, while you're here, you can flip down the landing gear on the back of his head. Then we'll turn him around. And you'll rotate this piece on his back sideways, like so. Come down here to his feet and fold both sections together. Then we're going to flip him around because these black coverings on his legs fold down. Fold them down, then press his legs together. You should hear them pop in like that. And then you will fold his legs. He does pinch if you're not careful. Fold the legs in like that. Secure the area to his back. And once that's in, you can fold the leg covers back up and snap them into position. Then you will come back and rotate this piece again, making sure the vent section here comes to his head. That's just the way they want it to look. Come here to his arms and stretch them out to the sides. Then rotate them so that the hands are now facing towards you. We'll then shift these little engine pieces on the top. I want you to kind of rotate them so they go over the rotor section. And you make sure that the arms are securely in these covers. Then on this one, we will rotate out the tail rotor piece. And then you will fold the arms so that they go over where his head was. They should slide in perfectly. If not, you may have to readjust the position. Readjust things. We got the one in. There's the other one. Once they're in, you can snap them together. Make sure these little engines are snug up against the body. Then you come back here and we will rotate the tail fin so that it is in position. And then you will mount the rotor on top. And of course, as you can see, it does. If everything's lined up properly, it will spin perfectly, which is what you want in a toy helicopter. And then now it is time to attach the guns. His large gun, as you see, it has two posts on the side. It can connect to either side of the nose cone. They want you to put it in upside down. And then the other cannons hook into these slots here on the side. And they hook in by the opposite tabs. The instructions have you putting them so they point backwards. Hence why you have a right one and a left one. And then there you have it. Vortex is a combat helicopter. He was known in the Generation 1 continuity as a Sea Sprite helicopter, so he shared, ironically, he shared a similar alt mode with the GoBot Flip Top. So Vortex has a lot of common similarities with the GoBots. Take that as you may. So what do we think of Vortex here, the modern version? This one is definitely a significant improvement on the original. I love the fact that now we have a reason to remove the rotor blade, and the fact that we can use it as a weapon on him. So that's a nice touch. The robot mode also looks infinitely superior to the original. I mean, I know I can't show it to you right now, but take my word for it, it is a significant improvement. The vehicle mode, it's a little complicated, but it still turns out pretty good, so I do like it. All in all, I do like how he turned out in the modern form, and I am looking forward to seeing how well the others will during the course of this year. And that concludes my review of the Age of the Primes release of Vortex. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please do remember that if you love the content we show on this channel, we would certainly appreciate likes, comments, shares, and subscriptions. We've been saying it all month. YouTube has altered the algorithm. They'd like to see that the viewers are engaging with us. So we would definitely appreciate some engagement. Now, next month we'll be at the end of next month. We'll be celebrating our 10th anniversary. But before we get to that, the one that we've got special for it, we got a wild lineup of figures to go through. This is Sparkster 1701 saying I will catch you all later.